Blessings and good day to you. I'm Robin Singler, and I'm picking up where I left off with my readings from A Course in Miracles, the second edition, the workbook. I've been reading the definitions or the answers to the questions that Jesus gives us in part 2 of the workbook. So he intersperses these in the second part of the workbook as a means to really understand what has preceded that part of the workbook in the text and in the beginning of the workbook, setting the stage for a deep understanding of what Jesus is trying to teach us about here and what is really going on in our lives and in our minds. So we last left off with the definition or the answer to the question, what is the second coming? Which is very charged because of, Christian ideology and just a lot of story and mythology around that. And what I'd like to read for you right now is his answer to the question, what is the last judgment? Oh dear. Last and judgment, those two words put together can be daunting for the ego, for sure, especially if we're afraid of God. We're afraid of the world we see. Last means final. The stamp of totality or finality to it. And then judgment. Woo! We don't like to be judged, do we? But we sure do find ourselves judging quite a bit. There are a lot of judgmental thoughts in the mind. And they're played out all around us and in our lives. So let's see what he can help clarify for us. Because I get the feeling that Jesus' explanation is going to allow us to free our minds and come into a state of peace and understanding about this topic, this idea of a last judgment that we supposedly all face and should be afraid of. So let's see. Christ's second coming gives the Son of God this gift, to hear the voice for God proclaim that what is false, and what is true has never changed. And this the judgment is, in which perception ends. At first you see a world that has accepted this as true, projected from a now corrected mind. And with this holy sight, perception gives a silent blessing and then disappears, its goal accomplished and its mission done. The final judgment on the world contains no condemnation, for it sees the world as totally forgiven, without sin and wholly purposeless, without a cause, and now without a function in Christ's sight. It merely slips away to nothingness. There it was born, and there it ends as well. And all the figures in the dream in which the world began go with it. Bodies now are useless and will therefore fade away because the Son of God is limitless. That's you and I. The Son of God is limitless. You who believed that God's last judgment would condemn the world to hell along with you, accept this holy truth. God's judgment is the gift of the correction he bestowed on all your errors, freeing you from them and all effects they ever seemed to have. To fear God's saving grace is only to fear complete release from suffering, return to peace, security and happiness, and union with your own identity. And so we're almost near the end of this definition that Jesus gives us. And we've already heard here a few times that there is no condemnation involved with this idea of a final judgment from God, our Creator, Source. The final judgment sees the world as totally forgiven, without sin, and purposeless. And so to understand that this world has no purpose but to be forgiven and let go of can be a bit. And yet in that lies our freedom, and that's what this last judgment is. It's not a condemnation, it's not a damnation, it's not a tallying of the goods and the bads, and the sins and the nice things, and it's not a game of a scorecard. It's not the result of keeping score or keeping track of behavior. It is merely the declaration that what is true and what is false is false. And if our dream of being separate requires a last judgment that states the world is totally forgiven, without sin, and wholly purposeless, there must not be much really to fear there. That sounds like freedom. That sounds like release. That sounds like expansion. That sounds like being released from a very constricted, fearful experience in the mind that just gets played out in the world, on the world stage, you could say. How beautiful. In this line in paragraph 3, to fear God's saving grace is but to fear complete release from suffering, return to peace, security and happiness, and union with your own identity. So the last judgment, I am being reunited with myself, my true self, not the self that I think I am in a body, in a world, on a timeline that a body has to maintain. Because it is finite, it's temporary, and we're being told over and over again here in this teaching that bodies aren't real. The world of time and space is but a dream to be forgiven and let go of, and true freedom and true happiness are the result of that undoing and that learning to let go of what is not real. And this is a good thing. To detach from what is not real. God's final judgment is as merciful as every step in his appointed plan to bless his Son and call him to return to the eternal peace he shares with him. Be not afraid of love. Be not afraid of love, for it alone can heal all sorrow, wipe away all tears, and gently waken from his dream of pain the Son whom God acknowledges as his. Be not afraid of this. Be not afraid of this. Salvation asks, you give it welcome. And the world awaits your glad acceptance, which will set it free. This is God's final judgment. You are still my holy Son, forever innocent, forever loving, and forever loved, as limitless as your Creator, and completely changeless and forever pure. Therefore awaken and return to me. I am your Father, and you are my Son. So the last judgment, we look forward to this. We eagerly welcome the end of the time-space experience, the separateness, and all the suffering and the pain that it engenders when we hang on to that experience as who we are. I'd like to read this last paragraph again. Paragraph 5. This is God's final judgment. You are still my holy son, forever innocent, forever loving, and forever loved. As limitless as your Creator, and completely changeless and forever pure. Therefore awaken and return to me. I am your Father, and you are my son. Bless you. Just let that sink in. Have a beautiful rest of your day.